Molten is coming out and people are gonna have one question in their mind. Who should get tier 1? Because it looks like we're gonna get a token system, and the reason that I think we're gonna have a token system for tier 1 is that there is 4 variants for the Druid, there is like 3-4 variants for the Shaman, stuff like that. Like there's no way they're gonna have to drop every individual item where they tripled or even quadrupled the amount of tier sets that there are. That would be impractical, so it's very likely that we're going to have some sort of token system in Molten Core. And in turn, that means that we're going to have to think about who should get the token first. Well, not really that. We should think of who benefits from the token first. Let's call it that way. So we're going to take a look at the set bonuses and we're going to figure out what are the biggest power spikes that we're going to see in this tier. Wowhead made this little beautiful list on it, so I might as well follow their order here. We're going to start with the Druid. Okay, this is the balance set right here. The 2 pieces, the useless tier 1 set that was the same in the original tier 1. Thorns get bonus damage, that's useless. 3% hit. Now this is actually really good because chickens do have a lot of problems with hit. I think they gotta get 16 hit, minus 3% from the rune, so they gotta get 13% hit. That's a lot of hit they gotta get. 3% hit for free for the 4 piece. This is gonna be one of the biggest ones for them. Of course, at the same time, that's just a stat, so once tier 2 comes out and there is more stats on it, the 4 piece is probably gonna get overridden by that. And the 6 piece set bonus is that the cooldown of Starfall is going to be reduced by 50%. Now, I am not very familiar with the rotation of the Boomkin right now. That would be a question for Classic Go. But as far as I know, that's not going to be a huge DPS increase. So overall, I gotta say that the tier bonuses of the Druid, the Balanced Druid are pretty bad. Getting a little more Starfall seen is going to be nice, but it's not like going to be a huge DPS increase. Now, this is the Cat set. Now, the problem that the Druid is going to face, that the Warrior, for example, is not going to face, is that if you want to tank, you cannot really go for the DPS set and tank on the DPS set. That's what I plan to do, for example. I'm going to get the DPS tier set and I'm just going to tank on the DPS one because it's about the same. The Druid, however, is not the case at all. The 2 pieces of the Feral Druid is amazing because this is going to give everybody 1% free hit. That's insane. Now, it says all attacks instead of all attacks and spells, so that probably will mean that it's gonna be just melee hit, but even then guys, like 1% hit for all the melees for free. A Feral Cat is gonna be mandatory this phase, pretty much. Most likely they are gonna keep that tier piece, that 2 set bonus until Nax. The 4 piece is that periodic damage from Rake and Rip, of course the dots, the finisher and the Rake. We don't really use Rake, we are gonna use Rake on this phase, but it's not gonna be a huge part of our damage. Rip is a huge part of your damage, about 15%, so it is able to crit, assuming you get like 30% crit, that is double that. So yeah, 15% more damage on those 2 abilities. That should be like a nice 5%, 10%, maybe 10% at most damage increase. And the 6 piece is a quality of life one. It's not gonna be a huge DPS increase, but this is really nice. I had to play a Catolo Sunken Temple and it sucked. So basically your Savage Roar, that's your combo point ability. When you get 5 combo points, you get like a bonus damage for a duration, depending on the amount of combo points, and you gotta keep that buff on you the whole time, and it's only like 30 seconds at most. So it is really annoying, and there's this right here that you have a 20% chance per combo point to refresh it, so yeah, that means you're not gonna have to keep it up anymore, and that's great. This is the first really big set bonus though. If you are in a communist loot council guild, and you're acting in good faith of course, I think you're gonna have a very hard time not arguing that the Druid should get the first 2 pieces, the Feral Druid. 1% free hit for the entire raid. I mean, at least for the melees. How is that not gonna be the most important thing? I think the Feral Cat should be like the first one to get the 2 piece. Now the Bear set bonuses. The 2 piece set is that you can battle rest on bear form, so whatever. The 4 piece is that the cooldown of your enrage, that's the blood rage of the Druid, the equivalent, let's say, like you just pop it and you get rage. It's gonna be 30 seconds less cooldown, which is half, and you're not gonna reduce your armor with it anymore, so useless, absolutely useless. The 6 piece is that bear form is gonna increase your threat you generate by 20%. That's a big one right there. So the 6 piece is gonna be absolutely best in slot. I kinda fear how is gonna be tier 2. Tier 2 is gonna have to have a really good tier bonus to get better than 20% free threat. That's a tall order right there. So yeah, the 6 piece is really good. The 2 4 piece, they are all useless. They are pretty useless, but for the raid on itself, unless you got a main tank that is a feral druid, probably don't want to prioritize loot to that guy. Now this has gotta be one of the best 2 pieces in the game right here. 2-piece set bonus for the healing druid. When you cast Innervate on somebody else, you also get Innervate to yourself. So now we're gonna have double the Innervates for the healer druids. That's absolutely insane. If you guys played vanilla back in the day, a vanilla resto druid, I was stupid enough to do that, and like the resto druid was considered that you were a noob. If you innervated yourself instead of innervating like a priest, you were a noob. So now you don't have to make a choice on that anymore. You can have double the resources, and you really need innervate. The resto druid right now can output a lot of heals, but they need mana. They need mana. They have a lot of problems with mana. That 2-piece right there might also be like one of the high priority ones for the raid. I would consider it. 4-piece is gonna give you your healing touch or your nourish. You're gonna get a chance to refund your spell. Not huge, but it's free mana. Of course, that's good. And 6-piece is gonna remove the cooldown of tranquility, and it's gonna give you double its healing. That's insane. Of course, we have Wild Growth, and Wild Growth is an instant spell, so that's probably gonna be like better still. Even on this situation, Wild Growth is gonna be better. But I think the Druid is just gonna get more capabilities right now. I wouldn't prioritize the 6-piece because even if you do Tranquility constantly and it was good, you're gonna run out of mana super fast. But right there, the Druid is getting more and more busted every phase. That's pretty cool to see. The 2-piece though, once again, very high priority. It's a tall order right here. Do I want to get 1% hit to the melees, or do I want to get 1 more innervate to the raid? Both are very altruistic in nature, I guess. I don't know, that's pretty cool. Next we got the Hunter right here. This is the range version. You generate 100% more threat after using Distracting Shot. Wow, that's not only useless, that's bad. So yeah, the 2 set is nothing, not even considering. 4-piece. While tracking a creature, you deal 3% more damage to that creature. So if you track humanoids, you do more damage to humanoids, 3% damage. Absolute freaking useless. If you could track everything and you got 3% more damage on everything, I guess that would work, but you can't, so it's useless. And 6-piece, your next shot ability, so Chimera Shot, Aim Shot, all of that. After Aim Shot, it's gonna do 20% more damage. That's gonna change the rotation a little bit, because no, it won't, because if you're survival, you can reset with lock and load anyway, so you're gonna do a double Aim Shot. That's interesting. So you can do a double Aim Shot. The first Aim Shot is gonna buff the second one. The second one is gonna get double damage. Remember, you have lock and load, so you can do it twice in a row. And then you can do a Chimera Shot or something on the third one. I guess that works very well with survival and the build that's going on now, but it's not great. It's not amazing. I don't think it's gonna be a huge deal. Let's take a look at the Melee Hunter. Of course, the Melee Hunter is absolutely dead, so it should have to be an amazing tier bonus to even like take a look at this for priority. So Mongoose Bite reduces the chance of the target to dodge by 1% and increases your chance to hit by 1%, so that's only to you, not to the raid. So this will effectively give the raid 1% more chance to hit, because even if you're in the hit cap, bosses have a 5% chance to dodge, right? So yeah, they're gonna have a 4% chance. What happens if you stack 4 hunters? Can you like get it down to 0? Something like that? I don't know, but yeah, this should be like effectively 1% more hit to the entire raid. So I think everybody's gonna be happy about that. Very high priority right here. Maybe this might be the one thing that makes hunters viable. Melee hunters, that is. Ranged hunters are kicking absolute ass. The 4-piece is the same as the previous one, 3% damage, pretty useless. And 6-piece is that Mongoose Bites activates when your target parries or blocks. Yeah, not great. So yeah, the 2-piece is amazing, everything else is useless. I mean, I wouldn't prioritize tier set on the melee hunter just because it is so bad that it's a waste of loot. But looking at that 1% hit, that's very juicy right there. I think everybody's gonna want that buff. Now we take a look at the Mage. The DPS set right here. You're immune to all damage channeling evocation. Oh god, that's gonna be so cancerous in PvP. How did this get in the notes? Yeah, like every PvPer and their mother is gonna be taking 2-piece now. That's insane. Of course it is pretty useless for PvE, but god damn, that's dumb. The 4-piece is that you get 1% more damage when you cast a spell from a different school of magic. So let's see, what's the rotation for the Fire Mage right now? For the Frost Mage it's gonna be pretty simple because you can weave a Fire Blast in between and that's fine. But I don't think the Fire Mage has any non-fire spell on its rotation right now. Yeah, I mean it's 1% damage, so it's pretty useless anyway. The 6-piece is very convoluted. You can get 15% more mana regeneration on Mage Armor. I think that's 15% of the total, not 15% plus 15%. So that shouldn't double it, that should make it only 15% more by the wording of it, I guess. not great, pretty useless. Molten armor is 18 more spell power, absolutely freaking useless. Ice armor can give you a 20% chance to trigger Fingers of Frost, that's good. Overall, the DPS tier set is absolute freaking crap for PvE, so it's just really bad. Let's take a look at the healer set for the mage. The two pieces that your temporal beacon is gonna last longer, of course that's great. You know, you can tag one guy and you can heal a little more because every global that you're not using temporal beacon is a global that you can spend healing. The 4 piece is 10% more healing period, so that's absolutely amazing. The 4 piece is great. And the 6 piece is gonna reduce the cooldown of rewind time by 1 second, so not great. I mean, it will help, it will be significant, unlike the Hunter one, this one actually does something, but it's not great. The 4 piece though, 10% more healing, that's gotta be absolutely crazy. They are definitely gonna be running the 4 piece for a long time. Okay, let's take a look at the healer set for the Paladin right here. 2 piece is gonna increase the chance of your allies to trigger your Judgmental Light or Wisdom by double, so you know, Judgmental Wisdom, Judgmental Light, you put it on the boss, and every time you hit the boss you get a chance to generate mana or HP. Unless you are a Feral Druid, that doesn't matter to you. The only person in the entire raid that benefits from Seal of Wisdom is the Feral Druids, so they can power shift a little easier. So this is useless. The 4 piece is 2% crit, which is nice, but it's nothing cool. That's pretty lazy, honestly. And the 6 piece is that whenever your Flash of Light, Holy Light, or Beacon of Light heal a target to full health, you also heal members of the party for 189 to 211 health. The Holy Paladin was falling behind on AoE healing a lot, so I guess this is a nice supplement. But overall, these are very weak. These tier set bonuses are really useless. I mean, they are just a little more healing on every one of them. Like, compare that to the Mage. The Mage gets 10% more healing. The Holy Paladin gets 2% spell crit. Yeah, I don't think that's very balanced. The Prot Paladin, 2 pieces 30 block value. Of course, the Paladin scales with Holy Shield off of block value, so that will give them a little more threat. The 4 piece, every time you block, you heal for 189 HP. Sadly, they put a cooldown to it, so the dream of being a Paladin soloing Stratorm is not gonna happen. If you're tanking a boss, that is functionally nothing. 180 HP is nothing. And 6 piece is that the Holy Shield no longer has charges. That's great. And it lasts full duration. Also, the damage is increased by double your shield block value. So Holy Shield is like the shield block of the warrior, but weaker because it has a less chance. And most of the time, unless you are doing AoE tanking, okay, in AoE tanking this is gonna make a difference. If you're tanking a boss, this 6 piece is absolutely useless. But for AoE though, you're gonna be probably the tankiest AoE tank in the game, and that's pretty cool. That's always been the Prot Paladin identity, that they are the AoE tank to go. Overall, the Paladin set is pretty crap. Finally, the red set. Your Judgmental Light and Judgmental Wisdom is gonna grant the effect of the Judgment of the Crusader, so I guess that's gonna give you 2 judgments at the same time. If you wanna do Judgmental Wisdom for mana, for example, you can keep it up while you're doing Judgment of the Crusader. Once again, Judgment of Wisdom and Light, they are pretty useless anyway. 4 pieces 2% crit, which is fine. Once again, not great, not bad. And the 6 pieces that your Seal of Command, Seal of Righteousness, and Seal of Martyrdom are gonna persist for 6 seconds after you cast another seal, so you can have a seal twisting but easier, and your Judgment can trigger multiple judgments at the same time. I think that's really cool. So Seal Twisting is now embraced by Blizzard, so what this means effectively is that you can go for Seal of Righteousness, which is flat holy damage on your attacks, and Seal of Command at the same time, which is like weapon damage, and you can judge with both at the same time, which should increase your judgment damage by about 50%. So yeah, that should be a pretty significant increase. I should have to talk to Jay Telo about it, but it's definitely like, I don't know, like 10% more damage overall, something like that. Very good. That's probably the only good set piece in the entire Paladin. Poor people. So for the Shadow Priest, the 2 pieces that you can cast Flash Heal on Shadow form, useless. The 4 piece is 2% crit. They love that 2% crit, don't they? They didn't think of like anything else to put in there, right? Just 2% crit for everybody. And the 6 piece is that your Mind Blast is gonna double the damage of your Mind Flay, and it's gonna increase the duration, so of course, if you increase the duration of Mind Flay, what that means is that for the same amount of mana, you're gonna get more damage out of it, so that's very good for efficiency. And double damage, so I think we're gonna have to do Mind Blast into Mind Flay constantly. I think that's a cool playstyle. I really like this set bonus. The Healing Priest, 2 piece is absolutely freaking useless. It is like 0.1 seconds less on flash heals. It shouldn't matter anyway. 4 piece is 2% crit. Oh god, I wonder what the next 4 piece is gonna be like, guys. And the 6 piece is that your prayer of healing and the circle of healing is gonna have 25% more crit chance. Yeah, these set bonuses are really lazy. They're just like flat stuff. They are not cool, and they are definitely not very significant. And maybe the Shadow Priest one is super cool. I like this one, but yeah, probably not a priority right now. The Priest one. Now for the Rogue, we got the DPS set. The 2 pieces that you're gonna get avoidance for 6 seconds when you faint, and it's gonna reduce AoE damage depending on how the hit mechanic works in Molten Core, because I think that means in the way they describe the hit mechanic in Molten Core, that there is gonna be AoE damage going on. That might matter, 50% less damage, that's pretty good. The 4 pieces that your poisons can crit for 100% more bonus, so your poisons are technically a spell, so they can crit for 50%, am I wrong here? So yeah, so that means they are gonna crit for like a normal ability, for double. Not huge, probably not very important, but it will matter. It will give you like some damage. And the 6 pieces that your finishing moves have a 5% chance per combo point, so 5 combo points, that's 25% chance that your next ability is gonna cost no energy, so that is really good. It might be a little awkward to keep track of it. We're gonna have to get a weak aura for it, but I think this one is gonna be very significant. Not a priority, of course, but it will matter. The 2 pieces of the tanking rogue set on the other side. Wow, that's a whole book right there. Just a Fleshwood and Blade Dance when they are active, Crimson Tempest, Blunderboss, and Fano Knives. Fano Knives is the good one, of course. They are gonna cost 20 less energy and they are gonna generate double threat. Yeah, so the AoE is gonna be very good. Vanish reduces magic damage you take by 50%, but no longer grants you stealth. Yeah, that's for Molten Core right there. That's to survive Ragnaros. I bet you they tested it and the rogue got one-shot by the fire. And that's why they had to do this, because the rogue has 0 defense against magic. And the 6 pieces that your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to make you take 50% less physical damage. So right there, if you got a rogue tank and it's your main tank, you can make an argument that they should get the set first. That 6 piece is very good. That 4 piece is probably gonna be fundamental for surviving high hit levels in Molten Core. If you're doing hit level 3, you are gonna need that 4 piece, probably. Okay, so for the Elemental Shaman now, let's take a look at this one. The radius of your totem gets increased. That's the 2 piece. That's pretty much useless. I mean, it's nice. That's like the talent in TBC, I guess. Okay, this is really cool. The 4 pieces that your lightning bolts, when it crits, you get a 35% chance to reset the cooldown on your lava burst or your chain lightning, and they will become instant. So you're gonna freaking slap. That's a high priority one right there. And the 6 pieces that your lava burst is gonna refresh the flame shock on the target. So that's gonna translate into a little more DPS, because the less you gotta apply Flame Shock, the more you can do Frost Shock, for example, which is more damage, and that's gonna be better. I wouldn't bother with the 6 piece, honestly. It is gonna make a very tiny difference on the DPS, but the 4 piece is amazing though. Now for the Enhancement Shaman, the radius of your totems, same thing. The 2 piece is the same for all the shamans, I think. The 4 piece is 2% crit once again. And the 6 piece is that your flurry talent, of course, when you crit you get 30% more attack speed. That's gonna give you 10% more attack speed. So that's pretty good. Overall, with both the sets, we're looking at less than a 5% damage increase. Like if they get all the tier bonuses right here, that's less than 5% more DPS. So yeah, that's a hard no for me. That's gonna be a very low priority. Now for the healer set, the 4 piece is gonna make your healing wave or your Riptide or your lesser healing wave to refund some of the mana that you spend sometimes. Pretty negligible. They do not have mana problems anyway. The 6 piece is gonna be really strong, okay? Your healing wave is gonna jump to additional nearby targets, and it will jump up to 2 more targets. Finally, the tanking set for the Shaman. The 2 piece is gonna be 30% attack speed when you parry, dodge, or block. That's gigantic right there. That's awesome. The 4 piece is that your parries and dodges are gonna activate your Shield Mastery rune, which increases your chance to block again. Anything that gives you avoidance is very good, because the more avoidance you get, the less chance to get crushed by a crushing blow, which can one-shot you probably. So that will help. And finally, the 6 piece, your Stone Skin is gonna reduce damage taken by 5%, and your Wind Wall Totem is gonna reduce magic damage by 5%. That probably is gonna be a very high one out there too. If your main tank is a Shaman, I think all the set bonuses right here are very good, and the 6 piece is gonna help the entire raid, so of course you wanna get it. Now let's take a look at the DPS Warlock set. The 2 piece for the DPS set is gonna generate 0 threat on life tap, and it's gonna give you 50% more mana, so that means less life tapping, so that means more globals for pumping and DPSing, and also less work for the healers, which is great. 4 piece, 2% crit once again, who would have thought? The 6 piece is that your Nightfall talent, okay, that's the Affliction Warlock one. It has 4% more chance to trigger. The Nightfall talent is free Shadow Bolts. They are instant when you proc it. And your Immolate is gonna have a 4% chance to give you an instant Incinerate. The 6 piece is very good. The 4 piece and the 2 piece are meh. You can even banish yourself if you're a demon, because you can banish elementals or demons. So that's gonna be like an ice block of sorts. Very cancerous in PvP. You can get rid of debuffs. Like if Ragnaros puts a dot on you, you can banish yourself, and can you right click it off? Is that possible? Like if you can take it off at will, that will be really strong. Like they put an unavoidable damage on you, like a dot, a curse, whatever, and you just put that on you, you vanish, so you're immune to damage, and then you take it off, and that's it, the debuff is gone. The 4 piece is gonna give you mana when you take damage. That's fine. The 6 piece is gonna give you a 20% chance to give you a soul shard. It's gonna reset the cooldown on your soul fire, and it's gonna make your next soul fire instant. It's not huge, but it will be more threat. Overall, the Warlock, even if the Warlock is your main tank, I see no good reason to give them priority on it. Like all their bonuses are not very good. Finally, okay, the most important out there, the Warrior set, okay? So many people have been complaining about this set for so long, so let's talk about it. The 2 piece is that every time you change a stance, you get 10 rage, so that's gonna add up with Tactical Mastery. So remember, you can keep 25% or 25 rage when you change a stance with Tactical Mastery. That's the arms talent that everybody gets. So you can change to another stance and keep 35 rage. That's huge. That's gonna make stance dancing not very annoying anymore. The 4 piece is that after leaving a stance, you can for 5 seconds use the abilities of the previous stance. So for example, if I go from Berserker stance to Battle stance, I can just keep doing Whirlwind for 5 more seconds. And this is the big one for the DPSs right here. For the first 10 seconds after leaving a stance, you gain an additional benefit. If you go Battle stance, you're gonna get for 10 seconds 10% more damage. If you go Berserker stance, you're gonna get 10% more crit. And if you go Defensive stance, you're gonna take 10% less damage. So of course, if you're a warrior, you're gonna have to be stance dancing from Berserker to Battle stance constantly to keep up 10% crit and 10% damage constantly. That's huge though. I think after like warriors have been complaining for a while about the damage, once we get to try out this set bonus, I think they are not gonna complain they will complain, they always complain, what am I saying? But the damage is gonna be insane though. 10% damage and 10% crit at the same time. Are you kidding me? That's huge. Now for the tank warrior is a little more underwhelming. The 2 piece is gonna be 30 shield block value, so that's nothing. The 4 piece is gonna be 1 more rage every time you take damage or you deal damage. Is something, but it's not huge. And the 6 piece is gonna be 10% more threat, and it's gonna give you damage on Gladiator stance. But yeah, I just find it very hard to take the tanking set, even for a tank. Okay, I am a tank and I look at this and I go like, I would much rather go this set bonus and go battle stance and go back to defensive stance, and not only I'm gonna take 10% less damage, but I'm gonna have 10% more damage anyway. And yes, 10% more threat is better than 10% more damage for threat, but the difference is not that huge, and I get all the DPS stats on the DPS set anyway, and if I want a DPS tomorrow, I don't have to get a new set. I just do not see a good reason to take the tanking set at all. Like, it has no defense on it, I am crit immune anyway, I got shield block, I don't need defense, and it has the same amount of fire resistance, so I can tank just fine with it. Honestly, I think I am gonna go for the DPS set as a Prot Warrior. So yeah, I mean, the ones that you really gotta prioritize is the 2 set of the cat. The cat druid is gonna be super important, 1% more hit. If you have a melee hunter, you may want to have an argument here that 1% less dodge on the boss is gonna be useful. If your rogue is a main tank, you absolutely gotta get them the 4 piece as soon as possible, or you will not be able to survive the hit levels in Molten Core. I assure you, like, they put this in for a reason. The shaman sets are all pretty terrible, honestly. I wouldn't prioritize it. The tanking Warlock set is also useless. Of course, the Warrior set is pretty good, but it's not like nothing crazy, it's just 10% more damage. So yeah, I think there is not like one set that you absolutely gotta get somebody. Maybe the Druid one. Like if I were at the loot council, my number one priority would be getting 2 pieces for the cat, so everybody gets 1% more hit, and that's pretty much it. I think I'm done. It's cool to see though, there are some cool effects out there, and a lot of crappy ones. I don't know. It's pretty clear they did like half the classes and then they just ran out of gas and they put 2% crit on everything instead of making something new. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.